My daughter stole my necklace, the last gift my husband gave me before he died, worth $100,000, and used the money to buy luxury gifts for her future mother-in-law. When I discovered the truth, I didn't scream. I smiled and said, "That necklace has a..." Her face went pale. "Thank you for staying with me so far. It truly means a lot." Before we continue, take a moment to share where you're listening from. It's always powerful to see how far these stories reach. And for transparency, this narrative contains fictional elements added for educational and storytelling purposes. Any resemblance to real people or circumstances is coincidental, but the message is intended to offer insight and value. I found the empty box on a Tuesday afternoon when I returned home from visiting my friend Helen in Charleston. I'd been gone for a week, 7 days at her lake house, trying to find peace in the quiet. The house felt different when I walked in. Not obviously wrong, just off, like someone had been there. Ruth had watered the plants while I was gone. The mail was stacked neatly on the counter. Everything looked normal, but something wasn't right. I unpacked, slowly putting away clothes, sorting through mail. Then I went to my bedroom to return jewelry to my cabinet, the small travel case I'd taken with me. That's when I saw it. The navy velvet box sat in the bottom drawer where I always kept it, but the placement looked wrong. I lifted the lid and my heart stopped. Empty. For a few seconds, I just stood there staring at the white satin lining the impression where the necklace used to rest. My brain scrambled for explanations. Maybe I'd moved it before I left, but I knew I hadn't. That necklace, a white gold chain with a teardrop sapphire pendant, was the last gift Warren gave me before he passed. He'd bought it from a jeweler on Bull Street. He fastened it around my neck in the hospital room, his hands trembling but his eyes steady. "My forever," he whispered. It was worth $100,000, but to me it was priceless. I tore through the drawer, checked every jewelry box, opened every compartment, searched under pillows inside my nightstand, even in the small safe where I never kept it, but I checked anyway. Nothing. I sat down on the bed, the empty box in my hands. The room spun, my chest tightened. Someone had taken it. Someone had come into my home while I was in Charleston and stolen the only thing I had left of Warren. I didn't think to check the doorbell camera. Warren had installed it years ago, one of those ring things, but I'd barely touched it since he passed. Technology had always been his domain, not mine. I thought of Vanessa immediately. My daughter. My only child. The one who'd had a key to my house since high school. The one who knew I'd be gone for a week at Helen's. The one who'd called me the day before I left. "Have a great trip, Mom. You deserve the break." I'd believed her. But now, sitting here with the empty box, a cold thought crept in. My daughter stole from me while I was away. I picked up my phone. Vanessa's name appeared. I pressed call. The phone rang once, twice, 3 times. "Hello." Vanessa's voice sounded cheerful. "Mom, how are you? How was Charleston?" I swallowed, forced my voice steady. "Vanessa," I said, "I need to ask you something." There was a pause, brief, but enough. "Sure," she said. "What's up?" I looked down at the empty box. My fingers traced the satin lining. I thought of Warren. I thought of his hands fastening the clasp. "My forever, my sapphire necklace," I said slowly. "The one your father gave me. It's missing." Silence. Then, "Missing? What do you mean?" Her voice was too high, too surprised, too practiced. "It's gone," I said. "From my jewelry cabinet. I just got back from Charleston, and it's gone." Another pause. "Mom, I don't know anything about that. Are you sure you didn't take it with you?" I closed my eyes. "I'm sure." "Well, maybe Ruth has been with me for 20 years. I cut her off, my voice sharper. "She's never taken so much as a teaspoon." Silence again. Longer this time. "I'm sorry, Mom," Vanessa finally said. "I really don't know, but I'll keep an eye out. Maybe it'll turn up." I sat there listening to her lie to me, and something inside me hardened. "Maybe," I said quietly. I hung up, and I knew with absolute certainty that my daughter had stolen the last piece of my husband I had left. While I was in Charleston, trusting her, believing her, my daughter had walked into my home and taken it. Vanessa showed up at my house 2 days later. I hadn't called her again after that first conversation. I'd spent those 2 days going through my jewelry cabinet, my files, my bank statements, looking for answers, looking for proof. I didn't find one. When the doorbell rang Tuesday afternoon, I knew it was her. I could see her through the frosted glass blonde hair pulled back, dressed in jeans and a sweater. She looked young, innocent. She looked like my daughter. I opened the door. "Hi, Mom," she said, her smile bright but strained. "I was in the neighborhood, thought I'd stop by." "Come in," I said. She hugged me. I stood stiff in her embrace, barely returning it. If she noticed, she didn't say anything. "I made tea," I said. "Let's sit on the porch." We sat in the wicker chairs Warren had bought years ago. The sun was warm, the azaleas were blooming. Everything looked peaceful. Vanessa chattered about nothing, traffic, weather, a new restaurant. She was talking too fast. Her hands moved constantly, fidgeting with her phone. She was nervous. "Vanessa," I said, cutting through her rambling. "Did you take my necklace?" She froze. Her smile faltered for just a second before snapping back. "Mom," she said, laughing a little, "we talked about this. I don't know anything about your necklace." "I've looked everywhere," I said. "It's gone." "Well, maybe Ruth." "Ruth didn't take it," I said firmly. Vanessa set her tea down. "Mom, I don't know what you want me to say. I didn't take it. Maybe you misplaced it." "I didn't misplace a $100,000 necklace, Vanessa." Her eyes widened. $100,000, I didn't realize it was worth that much. "Yes, you did," I said quietly. "Your father had it appraised. The certificate is in our files. You've seen it." "I don't remember." "You have a key to this house," I continued. "You were here 2 weeks ago. We had tea. We talked. You hugged me goodbye." "Mom, what are you saying?" Her voice rose. "You think I stole from you? Did you?" "No." She stood up her chair, scraping. "I can't believe you're accusing me of this. I'm your daughter." "I know who you are," I said. "Then why are you treating me like a criminal?" Tears welled in her eyes. "I came here to see you and you're accusing me of stealing." I looked at her, at the tears, at the trembling lip, at the wounded expression. It was a good performance. "Vanessa," I said slowly, "if you took it, tell me now. We can work this out." "I didn't take it," she shouted. "Why won't you believe me?" She grabbed her purse. "I'm leaving. I don't have to stand here and be accused." "Vanessa." "No, Mom. Call me when you're ready to apologize." She walked to the door, yanked it open, and slammed it behind her. I sat alone on the porch listening to her car drive away, and I knew she was lying. My daughter had looked me in the eye and lied. I picked up my phone and called Philip Hartman back. "I need you to find that necklace," I said, "and I need you to prove she took it." 3 days after I found the empty box, Vanessa called me. "Mom," she said, her voice shaking, "can you come over? I need to talk to you." About what I asked, though I already knew. Just, please, it's important. I drove to her house in Pooler. The whole way there, I rehearsed what I would say, how I would respond. Vanessa opened the door. Her eyes were red and swollen. Her face was blotchy. She looked young, fragile. She looked like my daughter. "Come in," she whispered. We sat in her living room. Trevor wasn't home. Just the two of us sitting across from each other like strangers. "I took it," Vanessa said. Just like that, no preamble. "I took your necklace. I sold it, and I'm sorry." I sat very still. I'd been prepared for denial, for more lies, but not this. Not the truth. "Why?" I asked quietly. Vanessa's hands were shaking. "Because I needed the money." "For what?" "For Margaret," she said, her voice breaking. "Trevor's mother. She's been so cold to me. She doesn't think I'm good enough. She makes these comments about my job, about our house, about my family. I wanted her to see that I could fit in." "So you stole from me," I said. "I know," Vanessa whispered. "I sold the necklace. I got $100,000. And I spent it." "On what?" "Gifts for Margaret," Vanessa said. "A Cartier bracelet, a Hermès bag, a spa weekend at the Ritz. I wanted her to like me." I looked at her, at my daughter, at the woman who'd stolen from me to buy love. "And the rest?" I asked. "The wedding," she said. "Venue deposit, my dress, flowers. The Mercedes outside, we put down a payment. I've spent almost all of it, Mom. I don't have much left." The room was silent. "That necklace," I said slowly, "was the last thing your father gave me." Vanessa's face crumpled. "I know. He gave it to me 3 months before he died. He told me it was his forever." "I know," she sobbed. "And you sold it to impress a woman you barely know." "I'm sorry," Vanessa whispered. I'm so sorry. I'll get it back. I'll find a way. How? I asked. You just said you spent it all. Vanessa looked up, tears streaming. I don't know, but I'll figure it out. Please, Mom, please don't hate me. I stood up. I don't hate you, I said quietly, but I don't trust you anymore, and I'm not sure I ever will again. I walked to the door. Vanessa followed, still crying. Mom, please. I need time, I said. I left her standing in the doorway. When I got home, I sat in Warren's study and called Philip Hartman. I need you to find out exactly what she did with that money, I said. Every purchase, every transaction. Are you sure? Philip asked. I'm sure, I said, because my daughter just confessed, and now I need to know if she's telling me the whole truth. I'll start today, Philip said. I hung up and sat very still. Vanessa had confessed, but something didn't add up. She'd said she acted alone, that she was desperate, but I'd seen the way she glanced toward the door. I'd seen the fear in her eyes. She wasn't alone in this, and I was going to prove it. 3 days passed. Philip called twice to update me. He was making progress, he said. Following leads. I waited. Ruth came by every morning. She watered the plants, tidied the kitchen, brought me fresh fruit. She didn't ask questions, but I could see the worry in her eyes. You're not eating, she said Thursday morning. I'm fine, I said. You're not fine, Ruth said gently. What's going on? I almost told her, almost said my daughter stole from me, but I couldn't. Not yet. Just some family business, I said. Ruth squeezed my hand and went back to her work. I spent those 3 days in Warren's study. It still smelled like him leather old books, his cologne. His chair sat by the window. I'd kept everything exactly as he'd left it. I sat at his desk and went through our financial records, bank statements, credit card bills, canceled checks. The pattern was there once I knew what to look for. 2 years ago, $15,000. For Trevor's business, never repaid. 18 months ago, $5,000. Emergency car repair. 1 year ago, $3,000. Medical bills. 6 months ago, $2,000. Wedding deposit. Small amounts spread out, easy to miss. But I was looking now. The total over $25,000. Plus the $100,000 necklace. My daughter had stolen $125,000 from me. I closed the ledger. My head ached. How had I been so blind? Because she was my daughter. Because I loved her. Because I wanted to believe her. Because Warren always said, trust your family, die. But what do you do when your family betrays you? My phone rang. Philip's name appeared. I answered immediately. Tell me you found something, I said. I did, Philip said carefully. Arthur Pemberton confirmed the sale. He has records, photographs, a signed receipt. My breath caught, and it was Vanessa, Philip said. She sold your necklace 4 weeks ago for $100,000. The room tilted. I gripped the desk. Diane, Philip's voice came through. Are you still there? Yes, I whispered. I have copies of everything, Philip said. Transaction records, Arthur's statement, photographs, the serial number matches. She lied to me, I said. Yes, Philip said gently. She did. I looked around Warren's study, at his books, at his chair, at our wedding photograph on the desk 50 years ago, so young, so happy. What do I do now? I asked. That's up to you, Philip said. But if you want to recover the necklace, we need to act quickly. Arthur sold it to a collector. If it changes hands again, it becomes harder to trace. I straightened, wiped my eyes, set up a meeting. I said, I want to hear everything Arthur has to say, and then I want my necklace back. Understood, Philip said. I hung up. Outside, the sun was setting. Golden hour. Warren would have taken a photograph, but Warren wasn't here anymore, and our daughter had stolen the last piece of him I had left. I stood up from his chair. The waiting was over. Now came the reckoning. I called Philip Hartman at 9 o'clock the next morning. My hands were steady. My voice was calm. I'd spent the entire night awake staring at the ceiling, turning everything over in my mind. Philip had been Warren's attorney for 30 years. He'd handled our wills, our estate, planning our business dealings. He was meticulous, discreet, and loyal. If anyone could help me, it was him. Diane, he answered on the second ring. Good morning. What can I do for you? I need your help, I said. Something's been stolen from me. There was a pause, then tell me everything. I did. I told him about the necklace, about the empty box, about Vanessa's phone call and the way her voice had climbed too high when I asked her about it. I told him about the key, about the visit 2 weeks ago, about the hug and the "I love you, Mama." Philip listened without interrupting. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. "Do you have documentation?" he asked. "Proof of purchase, appraisal records?" "Yes," I said. Warren kept everything. The receipt from the jeweler, the appraisal certificate. It's all in my files. "Good," Philip said. "That's very good. What about the necklace itself? Was it insured, registered?" "It has a serial number," I said. "Warren made sure of it. He registered it with the jeweler and with our insurance company." "Even better," Philip said. His voice shifted, professional, focused. "If Vanessa sold it, we can trace it. Serial numbers leave a trail. Jewelry of that value doesn't just disappear." I closed my eyes. Hearing him say it out loud made it real. "Philip," I said quietly, "I need to know if I'm wrong. I need to know if I'm accusing my daughter of something she didn't do." "I understand," he said. "But Diane, if she did take it, we need to act quickly. The longer we wait, the harder it becomes to recover. What do you need from me?" "Send me the documentation. I'll contact the jeweler. I'll check with local antique dealers and estate buyers. If the necklace has been sold, someone will have a record of it." I nodded even though he couldn't see me. "Okay. One more thing," Philip said. His voice softened. "Are you sure you want to go down this road if we find out it was Vanessa? There's no going back from that." I looked at the empty velvet box sitting on my desk. I thought of Warren's hands trembling as he fastened the clasp. I thought of Vanessa's voice on the phone, too high, too practiced, too false. "I'm sure," I said. "All right," Philip said. "I'll start today. I'll call you as soon as I know something." "Thank you, Philip." I hung up and sat very still, and then I remembered something. 2 years ago, Vanessa had asked to borrow $15,000. She'd said it was for Trevor's business. I'd written the check without hesitation. She'd cried and promised she'd pay me back. She never did. A year before that, I'd found $500 missing from my wallet after she visited. When I mentioned it, she'd laughed and said I must have spent it and forgotten. And now this. The pattern was there. I'd just been too blind to see it. I opened my laptop and pulled up my bank statements. I went back 3 years. I highlighted every withdrawal, every check, every transfer that involved Vanessa. The numbers added up quickly. My daughter hadn't just stolen from me once. She'd been stealing from me for years. I stared at the screen, and for the first time since I found the empty box, I smiled. Not from joy, from clarity. Because now I knew exactly what I was dealing with. My phone rang. Philip's name flashed across the display. He'd found something. "Arthur Pemberton sold it," Philip said without preamble. 4 weeks ago. I gripped the phone tighter. "Arthur from Pemberton Antiques on Bull Street." "The same," Philip confirmed. I called the jeweler first. They still had the serial number on file. Then I contacted every estate dealer and antique shop within 50 miles. Arthur remembered the piece immediately. My stomach twisted. Arthur Pemberton had been in Savannah for decades. Warren and I had bought from him over the years a side table, a mirror, a set of china. He knew us. He knew our family. Who brought it to him? I asked, though I already knew the answer. "A young woman," Philip said carefully, mid-30s, blonde. She said her mother had passed away and she was selling estate jewelry. Vanessa. My daughter had stood in Arthur's shop, held Warren's necklace in her hands, and lied about me being dead. Did he ask for identification? He did, Philip said. She provided a driver's license. Vanessa Walsh. Walsh, Trevor's last name. She'd changed it after the engagement, even though they hadn't married yet. "How much did he pay her?" I asked quietly. $100,000, Philip said. "Cash and check. He has the transaction record. The serial number matches. $100,000. The exact appraised value. She hadn't even tried to negotiate. She'd just taken the money and walked out. "Can we get it back?" I asked. "That depends," Philip said. "Arthur sold it 2 weeks ago to a private collector in Charleston. I've already contacted them. They're willing to return it if we can prove it was stolen property." "It was," I said flatly. "I know," Philip said. "But we need more than your word, Diane. We need evidence, a police report, documentation, and we need to establish that Vanessa didn't have permission to take it. She didn't. I believe you, Philip said gently, but we need to build a case. Arthur is willing to cooperate. He doesn't want to be caught up in a theft investigation. He'll provide the transaction records and his statement. But you need to decide how far you want to take this. I stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the azaleas were blooming pink and white. Ruth was trimming the hedges, her movements slow and methodical. Everything looked normal, peaceful. But inside this house, everything had changed. What are my options? I asked. Option 1, we file a police report and press charges. Theft of property over $100,000 is a felony in Georgia. Vanessa could face serious consequences. My breath caught. Prison. Possibly, Philip said. 3 to 10 years, depending on the circumstances. I closed my eyes. My daughter. In prison. Option 2, I asked. We handle it privately, Philip said. Confront her. Demand restitution. Threaten legal action if she doesn't comply. It's messier, but it keeps this out of the courts. And option 3, you let it go, Philip said quietly. You accept the loss and move on. I looked down at my left hand. The engagement ring Warren gave me 50 years ago still gleamed on my finger. I'd never taken it off, not even after he died. Warren gave me that necklace 3 months before he passed, I said. It has a serial number, registered. Warren made sure of it because he wanted me to have something that would last, something no one could take from me. My voice broke on the last words. But someone did take it, I whispered. My own daughter took it. I'm sorry, Diane. I straightened my shoulders, wiped my eyes. File the police report, I said. Philip called me back 3 hours later. Arthur wants to meet with you, he said, in person. He says he has something to tell you. We arranged to meet at Arthur's shop the next morning. Philip picked me up at 9. When we pulled up in front of Pemberton Antiques, I saw Arthur standing in the doorway waiting. He looked older than I remembered. His shoulders were stooped, his face lined with worry. When he saw me, something flickered in his eyes. Guilt, maybe, or shame. Mrs. Sullivan, he said quietly. Thank you for coming. Philip guided me inside. The shop smelled like old wood and lemon polish. I'd been here dozens of times with Warren. Now it felt like a crime scene. Arthur led us to a small office in the back and closed the door. For a long moment, he just stood there, hands clasped. I'm sorry, he finally said. I should have called you immediately. I should have known something was wrong. Tell me what happened, I said. Arthur sat down heavily. He pulled a folder from his desk and opened it. Inside were transaction records, receipts, and a photocopy of a driver's license. Vanessa's face stared up at me from the page. She came in 4 weeks ago, Arthur said. Late afternoon. She had the necklace in a velvet box. She said it belonged to her mother, that you'd passed away and she was selling estate jewelry. I felt Philip's hand on my arm steadying me. She was very convincing. Arthur continued, his voice heavy. She wore a black dress, a mourning ring. She brought documents with her. What kind of documents? Philip asked. Arthur pulled out a piece of paper. A funeral program. My name was printed at the top in loving memory of Diane Marie Sullivan. My breath caught. She said it was from your service, Arthur said quietly. 2 weeks prior. She showed me this and she cried, Mrs. Sullivan. She sat in that chair and cried and told me how hard it had been to lose you. I stared at the fake program, at my name, at the dates, fictional dates, printed beneath it. She planned this, I whispered. I asked for identification, Arthur continued. She showed me her license. Vanessa Walsh. I didn't recognize the last name at first, but I recognized her face. I'd seen her with you before years ago when you and Warren came in together. So you knew she was my daughter, I said quietly. Not until after she left, Arthur said. Then I remembered Diane Sullivan's daughter. But by then the transaction was complete, and I believed her story. Why wouldn't I? She had documentation. She was grieving. She wore mourning jewelry. She faked my death, I said, my voice hollow. Yes, Arthur whispered. He slid the transaction record across the desk. I paid her $100,000, $75,000 in a cashier's check, $25,000 in cash. She signed for it here. I looked at Vanessa's signature neat confident without a tremor. She didn't hesitate, I asked. No, Arthur said. She knew exactly what she wanted. She'd already researched the value. She had the appraisal certificate with her. Warren's appraisal certificate, from our files, from our home. She'd planned every detail. I sold the necklace 2 weeks later, Arthur continued, to a collector in Charleston, a woman named Margaret Hastings. She paid $110,000. Margaret Hastings, I repeated. Arthur nodded. She collects estate jewelry, Victorian pieces mostly. She's agreed to return the necklace if we can prove it was stolen, but she wants her money back, the full $110,000. She'll get it, I said, from Vanessa. Arthur nodded slowly. Mrs. Sullivan, I want you to know I never would have bought that necklace if I'd known the truth. I've been in this business 40 years. I've never dealt in stolen property. I know, I said. I'll testify, Arthur said. If it comes to that, I'll provide everything, the transaction records, the photographs, the fake funeral program, my statement, whatever you need. I stood up. Philip stood with me. Thank you, Arthur, I said. He walked us to the door. As I stepped outside into the bright morning sun, he called after me. Mrs. Sullivan. I turned. I'm sorry about Warren, he said quietly. He was a good man. Yes, I said, he was. And my daughter had not only stolen the last piece of him I had left, she'd faked my death to do it. Vanessa invited me to dinner the following week. The text came through on a Saturday morning. Hey, Mom, want to come over for dinner next Friday? Just you, me, and Trevor, 6 p.m. I stared at the message for a long time. She'd lied to me, sold my necklace, denied everything, and now she was inviting me to dinner as if nothing had happened. I texted back, that sounds lovely, I'll be there, because I wanted to see her. I wanted to look her in the eye and watch her pretend. I wanted to see what kind of life she'd built with my money, and because Philip had advised me to act normal. Don't tip her off, he'd said. We need time to build the case. So I played along. Friday evening, I drove to Vanessa's house in Pooler. The neighborhood was nice, newer homes, manicured lawns. Her house was a white colonial with black shutters, clean, respectable, expensive. Trevor answered the door with a wide smile. Diane, so good to see you. He'd never called me Mom, not once in 3 years, always Diane. I stepped inside. The house smelled like roasted chicken and candles. Everything was staged. The flowers, the throw pillows, the framed photos. It looked like a magazine spread. Vanessa emerged from the kitchen wearing a navy dress I'd never seen before. Fitted, elegant, expensive. Mom, she hugged me tight. I'm so glad you came. I hugged her back and felt nothing. We sat down to dinner in their dining room. The table was set beautifully white linens, good china flickering candles, roasted chicken, garlic potatoes, green beans. Everything looked perfect. Trevor poured wine. I asked for water instead. So, Mom, Vanessa said brightly, how have you been? Fine, I said, keeping busy. Any news on your necklace? Trevor asked casually. I looked at him. His face was open, innocent, concerned. No, I said. Nothing yet. That's terrible, Vanessa said, shaking her head. I really hope it turns up. It meant so much to you. She said it so sincerely. If I hadn't known better, I would have believed her. We ate in near silence after that. The chicken was dry. The potatoes were bland. Or maybe everything tasted like ash because I was sitting across from my daughter, watching her lie. After dinner, Vanessa walked me to the door. Thanks for coming, Mom, she said, hugging me again. Let's do this more often. Yes, I said. Let's. I drove home in silence. When I got back, I sat in Warren's study and called Philip. I need to know everything, I said. Where the money went, what she bought, I need proof. I'm working on it, Philip said. Give me a few more days. I don't have a few more days, I said. I need answers now. Diane, she invited me to dinner. I said, my voice breaking. She hugged me. She smiled. She asked about the necklace as if she cared. Philip was quiet. We'll get her, he said finally. I promise. I hung up and sat very still in the dark. My daughter was a stranger, and I was going to prove it. Philip came to my house on Thursday with a file folder thick enough to be a novel. You're not going to like this, he said, spreading the contents across my dining room table. He was right, I didn't. The first document was a series of text messages, printed out time-stamped names at the top of each bubble. Philip had gotten them through legal channels Vanessa's phone records subpoenaed as part of the investigation. "Start here," Philip said, pointing to the first exchange. "Trevor Walsh to Vanessa Walsh, August 28th, 9:47 p.m. Your mom's still going to Charleston next week, right? Vanessa Walsh to Trevor Walsh, August 28th, 9:52 p.m. Yeah. Leaves Sunday. Back the following Tuesday. Trevor Walsh, August 29th, 10:13 a.m. Perfect timing. Mom's been asking about the gifts again. When are we getting them? Vanessa Walsh, August 29th, 10:18 a.m. Soon, I promise. Trevor Walsh, August 30th, 7:22 p.m. We need to do this now, before the engagement party. She needs to see we're serious. Vanessa Walsh, August 30th, 7:35 p.m. I know where we can get the money. Trevor Walsh, August 30th, 7:36 p.m. Where? Vanessa Walsh, August 30th, 7:41 p.m. Mom's necklace. The sapphire one Dad gave her. It's worth like $100,000. She never wears it. There was a pause in the messages. 4 hours. Then, Trevor Walsh, August 30th, 11:52 p.m. Are you sure? Vanessa Walsh, August 30th, 11:58 p.m. She'll never know. She keeps it in a box. I don't think she's looked at it in years. Trevor Walsh, August 31st, 12:02 a.m. when? Vanessa Walsh, August 31st, 12:03 a.m. when she's in Charleston. I have a key. I stopped reading. My hands were shaking. There's more, Philip said gently. Trevor Walsh, September 6th, 11:32 a.m. Are you there yet? Vanessa Walsh, September 6th, 11:45 a.m. just pulled up. I feel sick. Trevor Walsh, September 6th, 11:46 a.m. You can do this, for us, for our future. Vanessa Walsh, September 6th, 12:03 p.m. I have it. I'm leaving now. Trevor Walsh, September 6th, 12:05 p.m. Good. I'm calling Pemberton. Philip slid another document across the table. Bank statements. This is their joint account, he said. Watch the dates. September 7th deposit, $100,000. Then starting September 8th, a cascade of withdrawals and charges. September 8th, Cartier Savannah, $18,000. September 10th, Hermes Atlanta, $15,200. September 12th, Ritz-Carlton, Amelia Island 3-night stay. Guest Margaret Walsh, $6,800. September 15th, Tiffany & Company Savannah, $12,500. September 18th, Nordstrom, $8,300. $55,000. Philip said spent on gifts for Margaret Walsh in 10 days. He pointed to more charges. September 20th, wedding venue deposit, $15,000. September 22nd, bridal boutique, $8,500. September 25th, furniture store, $4,200. September 28th, honeymoon resort deposit, $7,000. The rest went to wedding expenses and lifestyle purchases, Philip said. By the end of September, they'd spent nearly all of it. I stared at the numbers, at the dates, at the cold, calculated timeline of my daughter's betrayal. She'd planned it. She'd waited until I left town. She'd used my key. She'd walked into my home, opened my jewelry cabinet, and taken Warren's necklace while I was 4 hours away reading on Helen's porch, completely unaware. And then she'd spent the money in less than a month buying love from a woman who didn't even know the gifts were purchased with stolen money. There's one more thing, Philip said quietly. He pulled out a final text exchange. Margaret Walsh to Trevor Walsh, September 16th. The bracelet is lovely, darling. You and Vanessa are so thoughtful. Trevor Walsh to Vanessa Walsh, September 16th. Mom loves everything. She says you have excellent taste. Vanessa Walsh to Trevor Walsh, September 16th. Good. Maybe now she'll stop looking at me like I'm not good enough. I closed my eyes. She did all of this, I said slowly, to impress Trevor's mother. Yes, Philip said. She stole from me. She sold her father's last gift to me for approval. Yes. I opened my eyes and looked at the evidence spread across my table. The texts, the bank statements, the timeline. I want her to face this, I said, all of it. I want her to sit across from me and see exactly what she did. When Philip asked, Saturday, I said, at her house, at dinner. Philip nodded. I'll be ready. If you're still here, leave the number 3 in the comments to let me know you're still with me. And be honest with yourself. If the person who betrayed you was your own child, would you forgive to keep the family together or confront them to protect your self-respect? Before the story continues, please note that some of the following details are fictionalized for educational and storytelling purposes. If you don't wish to continue, you can stop the video here. Vanessa called me 2 days after Philip showed me the evidence. She didn't know that I already knew. She thought she was still controlling the story. Hey, Mom, she said, her voice warm. How are you? I'm fine, sweetheart, I said, keeping my voice light. How are you? Good, listen. I was thinking Trevor and I would love to have you over for dinner. Saturday night at 6, I gripped the phone tighter. Philip's evidence was spread across my desk, bank statements, text messages, Arthur's signed statement. Proof of everything. And now she was inviting me to dinner. That sounds wonderful, I said. What's the occasion? No occasion, Vanessa said. We just miss you, Mom. I know things have been weird with the necklace thing, and I want us to move past that. The necklace thing, as if it were nothing. I miss you too, sweetheart, I said. The lie came easily now. Great Saturday at 6. I'm making your favorite, pot roast. I'll be there, I said. Love you, Mom. Love you too. I hung up and stared at the phone. She'd called to gauge whether I suspected anything. She wanted to see if I'd play along. So I'd play along, for now. I called Philip immediately. She invited me to dinner, I said. Saturday night, 6 o'clock. Good, Philip said. That gives us time to coordinate. Coordinate what? I'll arrive 30 minutes after you get there, Philip said. Give them time to settle in. Then I'll knock with the evidence. My stomach twisted. You want to confront them during dinner? I want to confront them when they least expect it, Philip said. When they think they've won. She'll be devastated, I said quietly. She devastated you first, Philip said gently but firmly. She stole from you, Diane. She lied to you. This is the consequence. I closed my eyes. Thought of Warren, thought of the empty velvet box. All right, I said. Saturday at 6. I'll keep her distracted until you arrive. Are you sure you can do this? Philip asked. I'm sure, I said. But I wasn't. Not really. Saturday was 5 days away. I spent those days preparing. Not emotionally, I was past emotion. Practically. I called my financial advisor and reviewed my accounts. I organized my documents, deeds, titles, insurance policies, everything Warren and I had built. And I practiced in the mirror how to say goodbye to my daughter without breaking. I stood in front of the bathroom mirror Friday night. You stole from me, I said out loud. You betrayed me. My voice was steady. My hands didn't shake. I practiced until the words felt natural, until they didn't hurt anymore, until I could say them without crying. Saturday morning, I woke up calm. I got dressed carefully, a simple navy dress, pearls, low heels. I looked respectable, dignified. My phone buzzed. A text from Philip ready. I typed back, I've been ready for 4 weeks. I picked up my purse, checked my reflection one last time, and walked out the door. It was time to end this. Wednesday, I met with my estate attorney. Her name was Caroline Mitchell. She'd handled Warren's estate after he passed, and she'd been updating my will periodically ever since. I want to make a change, I told her. Caroline pulled out my file. What kind of change? My daughter, I said. I want her removed as my primary beneficiary. Caroline's pen paused over the paper. She looked up at me, her expression careful. Diane, that's a significant decision. Are you certain? Completely certain, I said. May I ask why? She stole from me, I said simply. A necklace worth $100,000. She sold it and lied about it. Caroline set down her pen. I'm sorry. That must be incredibly difficult. It is, I said. But I won't reward theft. I want everything to go to charity, organizations that help women rebuild after loss. And Vanessa, $1, I said. The legal minimum, so she can't contest it. Caroline nodded slowly. I'll draft the codicil. You can review it by Friday. Thank you, I said. Thursday. Philip came to my house with the final evidence package. He spread everything across the dining room table, printed text messages in chronological order, bank statements with the $100,000 deposit. Highlighted. Arthur Pemberton's signed statement. Then he asked, "Do you have the Ring doorbell footage, the one Warren installed?" I stared at him. "The doorbell camera?" "Yes," Philip said gently. "If it was recording when Vanessa came to your house, we'll have proof she was here. Video evidence." I hadn't thought of it. Not once. Warren had installed that system years ago. He'd been so proud of it, showing me how it worked, how it recorded motion at the front door. But after he passed, I'd barely looked at the app. Technology had always been his thing, not mine. "I don't know how to access it," I admitted. "May I?" Philip asked, gesturing to my phone. I handed it to him. He pulled up the Ring app, logged in with the password Warren had written in his notebook, the one I'd kept in his study, and scrolled back through the recordings. September 6th, 11:47 a.m. A white SUV pulled into my driveway. Vanessa got out, then Trevor. They both looked around, checking, and walked to my front door. Vanessa pulled out a key. They went inside. 14 minutes later, they came out. Trevor carried a small black bag. They drove away. Philip looked at me. "This is everything we need." I stared at the screen. At my daughter's face, clear as day, walking into my home while I was 4 hours away in Charleston. I couldn't bring myself to look at it before, I said quietly. After I found the empty box. I was too heartbroken to even think about the camera. Philip nodded. "I understand, but now we have it. Video proof, text messages, bank records, Arthur's statement. The timeline is airtight. Once we do this, Diane, there's no going back," Philip said. "It already isn't," I said quietly. Friday, I stayed home alone. I found myself looking through old photo albums. Vanessa as a baby, Vanessa learning to ride a bike, Vanessa at age 7, gap-toothed and smiling. I remembered teaching her to ride that bike. She'd fallen, skinned her knees, cried. But she'd gotten back up. "I love you, Mama," she'd said. I'd believed her then. Then I remembered Trevor's text. "She doesn't even wear it." My doubt disappeared. That little girl was gone. Friday evening, I found the empty velvet box. I held it and spoke to Warren's memory. "I hope I'm doing the right thing," I whispered. And I heard his voice, "Protect yourself, Di." Saturday morning, I woke up calm. I was ready. I left Savannah at 5:30 on Saturday evening. The drive to Pooler took 20 minutes on Highway 80 past the church, where Vanessa was baptized, past the park, where we used to feed the ducks when she was small. Every landmark was a memory. Every memory was a knife. The tablet sat on the passenger seat beside me, Ruth's security footage loaded and ready. In my purse were the printed text messages, the bank statements, Arthur's signed statement. Everything Philip and I had gathered over the past 4 weeks. Everything that would destroy my daughter's life. The sun was low on the horizon, painting the sky orange and pink. Warren used to love this time of day. Golden hour, he called it. I wondered what he would think of me now, driving to confront our daughter with evidence of her betrayal. "Protect yourself." Di, I heard his voice in my mind. "Don't let anyone take advantage of you, not even family, especially not family." I passed the Pooler exit and took the turn toward Vanessa's neighborhood. The houses here were newer, bigger, suburban, manicured lawns, 2-car garages, the kind of place where people posted their perfect lives on social media. Vanessa's house sat at the end of a cul-de-sac, a white colonial with black shutters, flower boxes under the windows, a new Mercedes in the driveway, silver gleaming. I thought of the bank statements in my purse, $100,000. My necklace. Warren's last gift. That car could have been bought with my money. I parked on the street and sat for a moment, hands still on the wheel. Through the front windows, I could see movement inside, shadows passing back and forth, setting the table, lighting candles, playing house with stolen money. My phone buzzed. "A text from Philip ready when you are. I'll arrive 30 minutes after you. Good luck." I typed back, "Thank you." Then I picked up my purse, checked my reflection in the rearview mirror, and stepped out of the car. The evening air was warm and humid. Somewhere down the street, children were playing. A dog barked. Normal sounds, normal life. But nothing about tonight was going to be normal. I walked up the driveway. The front door was painted red, cheerful, welcoming. There was a wreath made of eucalyptus and white flowers. Everything here looked expensive. I thought of the last time I'd given Vanessa money. 2 years ago, $15,000. She'd cried and promised to pay me back. She'd said, "I love you, Mama," and I'd believed her. I pressed the doorbell. Inside, I heard footsteps approaching, quick, eager. The lock turned. The door opened. Trevor stood there smiling wide, too wide. His teeth were too white. His hair was styled with too much gel. He was wearing a button-down shirt and slacks dressed up for the occasion. "Diane," he said, his voice booming with false warmth. Come in, we're so glad you could make it." He stepped aside, gesturing for me to enter. I looked past him into the house. I could see Vanessa in the kitchen doorway wiping her hands on a towel. She looked nervous, pale. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. I looked back at Trevor, at his too bright smile, at the watch on his wrist, a Rolex, gold and gleaming. $100,000 could buy a lot of things. I stepped across the threshold, my purse heavy with evidence against my own daughter. Trevor closed the door behind me. The trap was set. And I thought, smile while you still can. Trevor opened the door like he was welcoming me home. "Diane, come in, come in." He'd never called me Mom. I used to think that was respect. Now I knew it was distance. He took my coat and hung it carefully. His smile was broad and easy. "We're so glad you could make it." Vanessa appeared from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a dish towel. "Mom, I'm so glad you came." She hugged me. I felt it immediately, the slight tremor in her shoulders. She was nervous. "Of course, honey," I said. "Thank you for inviting me." We stood in the living room making small talk. The weather, Ruth's azaleas, some book club Vanessa had supposedly joined. Every word felt strained. "Dinner's ready," Vanessa finally said. The table was set beautifully. Roasted chicken, vegetables, flickering candles, wine glasses at each place. It looked like a magazine spread, like a performance. Trevor pulled out my chair. "Please sit." He poured wine for himself and Vanessa, then reached for my glass. "Just water for me, thank you," I said. "You sure it's a nice Pinot Noir?" "I'm sure." I needed to stay sharp. We sat. We served ourselves. And then we ate in near silence. I used the quiet to look around. New artwork on the wall, modern, expensive looking, bold colors and geometric shapes, the kind Warren would have hated. Trevor's watch caught the candlelight. Rolex, maybe. Definitely new. $100,000 buys a lot of things. Vanessa kept glancing at Trevor. Quick little looks. He'd catch her eye and give her a small nod. Coordinating. Finally, Vanessa set down her fork. "Mom," she said carefully, We want to talk about what happened. Here we go." Trevor leaned forward, expression serious. "Diane, Vanessa told me everything. I was shocked. I had no idea she'd do something like that." I set down my fork, folded my hands in my lap. "Has she told you everything?" I asked. Trevor's eyes flicked to Vanessa, just for a second. But I saw it, and I knew. They'd coordinated this. They'd sat here and planned exactly what they'd say, how they'd frame it, how they'd make it sound like Vanessa acted alone, like Trevor was innocent. They'd rehearsed. Vanessa took a breath, her shoulders straightening. I could see it. She was about to launch into her prepared speech, the one that was supposed to make me understand, make me forgive. And that's when the doorbell rang. Trevor's fork clattered against his plate. Vanessa's head whipped toward the sound, her face draining of color. "Who's that?" she asked, her voice too high. I looked at my watch. 6:30. Right on time. "That," I said calmly, "would be my attorney." The room went still. Trevor stared at me. "Your attorney?" "Yes," I said. "Philip Hartman. I invited him. I hope you don't mind." Vanessa's mouth opened, but no sound came out. The doorbell rang again. I smiled, not warmly, not cruelly, just smiled. "You should get that," I said. The doorbell rang at exactly 6:30. Trevor's fork froze halfway to his mouth. Vanessa's head snapped toward the sound, her eyes wide. "Are you expecting someone?" Trevor asked me, his voice tight. "Yes," I said calmly. "My attorney." The color drained from Vanessa's face. Trevor stood up so fast his chair scraped against the hardwood. "Your attorney! What the hell, Diane?" "Sit down, Trevor," I said. He didn't move. The doorbell rang again. "I'll get it," I said, standing. "No," Trevor said. "This is my house. I'll get it." He strode to the front door and yanked it open. I heard Philip's calm voice from the entryway. "Good evening. I'm Philip Hartman, Mrs. Sullivan's attorney. May I come in?" "No," Trevor said. "Whatever this is, Trevor." I called from the dining room. "Let him in." There was a long pause. Then Trevor stepped aside. Philip walked into the dining room carrying a leather briefcase. He was wearing a gray suit, his silver hair neatly combed. He nodded to me, then to Vanessa. "Miss Walsh," he said. "Mr. Walsh." Vanessa didn't correct him. She just sat there, frozen, her hands gripping the edge of the table. Philip set his briefcase on the table between the chicken and the wine glasses. The latches clicked open loud in the silence. "What is this?" Trevor demanded. "This," Philip said, pulling out a folder, "is a legal matter concerning stolen property." Vanessa made a small sound, half gasp, half whimper. Philip opened the folder and slid the first page across the table toward Vanessa. "This is a transaction record from Pemberton Antiques," Philip said. "Dated 4 weeks ago, a Victorian-era sapphire necklace appraised value $100,000. Vanessa stared at the document but didn't touch it. The seller was listed as Vanessa Walsh. Philip continued. "The payment was $75,000 via check and $25,000 in cash." He slid another document forward. "This is Arthur Pemberton's signed statement. He confirms that Ms. Walsh claimed her mother had passed away and she was selling estate jewelry." I watched Vanessa's face. She was shaking now. "But Mrs. Sullivan," Philip said, looking at me, "is very much alive, and the necklace was stolen from her home." "That's not—" Vanessa started, but her voice broke. "It is," Philip said. "The necklace has a registered serial number. It was a gift from Warren Sullivan to his wife. It was insured, documented, and it was taken without permission." Trevor was staring at Vanessa now, his face twisted with confusion. Philip slid one more document across the table. "This is the appraisal certificate with the serial number. Arthur Pemberton's record shows the same number. There is no question the necklace Ms. Walsh sold belonged to Mrs. Sullivan." Vanessa's hands trembled. She looked at me, eyes filling with tears. "Mom," she whispered, "please." "You told Arthur I was dead," I said quietly. She flinched. "You took your father's last gift to me," I continued. "You walked into a shop on Bull Street and you sold it for $100,000. Vanessa started. "You needed to impress Trevor's mother." I finished. "You needed to buy her love with my husband's necklace." Trevor's head whipped toward Vanessa. "What?" Philip closed the folder. "You sold it 4 weeks ago," he said, his voice quiet and final. "Together." The word hung in the air. Together. I'd imagined this moment 100 times. In none of those versions did I expect silence. But silence is just shock. Denial comes next. Vanessa opened her mouth. "Mom, that's not—" Philip cut her off. "Let me finish." He pulled out a tablet, set it on the table, and pressed play. The footage was grainy but clear. Ruth's camera. The timestamp read September 6, 11:47 a.m. A white SUV pulled into my driveway. Vanessa got out, then Trevor. They looked around, checking, and walked to my front door. Vanessa pulled out a key. My key. They went inside. 14 minutes later, they came out. Trevor carried a small black bag. They drove away. Vanessa tried again. "That doesn't prove—" "It proves you were both there," Philip said. He pulled out another sheet. "But let's remove any doubt." Text messages, printed, time-stamped. Philip began to read. "Trevor to Vanessa 3 weeks before your mom still has that necklace, right?" Vanessa, "Yeah, why?" "Trevor, mom's been making comments about the wedding, about whether your family can keep up." Philip paused, then continued. "Vanessa 2 weeks before. What if we got her something really nice?" "Trevor, that'd cost thousands." Vanessa, "I know where we could get the money. Mom's necklace. It's worth $100,000. She never wears it." Vanessa's face was in her hands. Her shoulders shook. Philip kept reading. "Trevor, when does she leave?" Vanessa, day of the theft, I feel sick. Trevor, we're doing this for us. I'm calling Pemberton now. Trevor, day after the sale, it's done. 100,000. Now we can make Mom happy. The silence was deafening. Philip pulled out the last document. Bank statements. He slid them across. $100,000 deposited the day after you sold the necklace, Philip said. Cartier, $18,000. Hermes, $15,000. Ritz-Carlton, 3 nights, Margaret Walsh listed as guest. He looked up. $55,000 on gifts for Trevor's mother in 3 weeks. $28,000 on wedding expenses. The rest on furniture and lifestyle spending. Trevor stared at the floor. Vanessa cried silently. I let the silence stretch. Let them sit in it. Then I spoke, my voice steady. I want to hear it from both of you. Did you plan this together? Did you steal from me to buy approval from his mother? Finally, Trevor's voice barely audible. Yes. Vanessa let out a sob. Mom, we were desperate. Margaret kept saying I wasn't good enough. I held up my hand. That necklace, I said, was the last thing your father gave me. Vanessa looked up, her eyes red. 3 months before he passed, he'd been saving for it. He told me he wanted me to have something beautiful to remember him by. My voice broke. Just once. And you sold it to impress someone you barely know. You traded your father's memory for a woman's approval. The thing about co-conspirators is they only stay united when they're winning. Vanessa turned to Trevor, her voice breaking into something desperate and raw. You said she'd understand. You said if we just made your mother happy, everything would work out. Trevor's jaw tightened. I said we needed my mother's approval. You're the one who said stealing from your mom was the solution. You agreed. You drove there with me. You carried it out. Because you were crying every night about how Margaret treated you. You said you couldn't take it anymore. Their voices were rising now, escalating, each word louder than the last. They'd forgotten I was there, forgotten Philip, forgotten everything except their own desperate need to make this someone else's fault. I let them go for a moment. Let them show me exactly who they were when the pressure came. Then I said softly, enough. They didn't hear me. Trevor was still talking, his face flushed. You picked those gifts. You said the Hermes bag was... Enough! The silence that followed was immediate, total, like I'd flipped a switch. They both turned to look at me. Vanessa's face was blotchy and red, her eyes still wet. Trevor's hands were clenched on the edge of the table. Philip cleared his throat. When he spoke, his voice was measured, professional, the voice of someone delivering a verdict. If I may, he said. This is theft of property valued at over $100,000. Conspiracy to commit fraud. Both are felonies in the state of Georgia. He paused. Let that sink in. Mrs. Sullivan has every right to press criminal charges. You could both face jail time. Vanessa's mouth fell open. She looked at me and I watched her face transform shock, then panic, then something like hope. The kind of hope that comes from believing there's still a way out. Mom, she whispered, you wouldn't... I met her eyes, held them. I don't know what I'm going to do, I said. My voice was calm, steady, cold in a way I'd never used with her before. But I know what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to forget this. And I'm not going to forgive. Not now, maybe not ever. The hope in Vanessa's face flickered, died. Trevor pushed his chair back suddenly, the legs scraping loud against the floor. I need air. He stood. Walked out of the dining room, not toward the front door, not outside, just into the kitchen. Running from the room like running would help anything. Vanessa stayed where she was. She was looking at me with eyes I'd seen 1,000 times before. When she was 6 and broke something. When she was 16 and lied about where she'd been. When she was 25 and needed money, she'd promised to pay back. Pleading eyes. The kind that said, fix this, Mom, make it better, make it go away. But I wasn't her mother anymore. Not in the way I used to be. Not in the way that meant I'd protect her from the consequences of stealing from me to buy love from someone else's mother. I leaned forward, my hands flat on the table. You need to return the money, I said, all of it. There's a moment in every negotiation when you realize who has the power. Vanessa and Trevor realized it too late. Trevor came back from the kitchen. He didn't say anything, just stood in the doorway, shoulders slumped, face blank. Philip opened another folder, pulled out a document, slid it across the table. "Here's what's going to happen," he said. His voice was calm, professional. "First, Arthur Pemberton will return the necklace. I have legal leverage, it's stolen property. He'll comply." Vanessa looked up. A flicker of hope crossed her face. Philip continued. "Second, you will repay Mrs. Sullivan $100,000, plus $10,000 in legal fees and damages. $110,000 total. You have 60 days. Trevor's voice came out hoarse. "We don't have that kind of money." He looked at Vanessa, then back at Philip, his hands trembling. "That money. It's gone. It's the Mercedes sitting outside. It's the bags in her closet. It's the furniture we just bought. We don't have cash." Philip didn't blink. "Then sell your assets, your house, your cars, the gifts you bought for Margaret if she hasn't already returned them. I don't care how, but you will do it." Vanessa's face went pale. "This will ruin us." I spoke then, my voice steady, final. "You already ruined yourselves." Philip kept going. "If you don't comply, Mrs. Sullivan will press criminal charges. Theft of property over $100,000 is a felony in Georgia. Conspiracy to commit fraud is a felony. You're both looking at 3 to 10 years in prison. Do you understand?" Silence. Then I leaned forward. Because Philip had laid out the legal terms, now it was time for mine. "I don't want to see you," I said. "Either of you. No phone calls, no texts, no visits. You don't exist to me anymore." Vanessa's hands shook. "Mom, I've changed my will," I continued. "You're not my heir anymore, Vanessa. You'll get $1 when I pass. That's what the law requires, but that's all you'll get." Her face crumpled. "Mom, please." I said, and I have. Philip placed another document on the table. "I'll be filing a police report tomorrow. This will be on record. If you fail to meet the terms, any of them criminal charges will be filed immediately. Do you both understand?" Trevor's voice was barely a whisper. "Yes." Vanessa just nodded. I stood, picked up my purse. Philip gathered his briefcase. "Philip will contact you about the payment schedule," I said. "And one more thing." I looked at Vanessa, really looked at her. "When Margaret finds out where those gifts came from, and she will, you'll learn what I learned. Approval you have to buy isn't worth having." I walked toward the door. Vanessa's voice stopped me. "Mom." It came out broken, desperate. "I'm sorry. I'm really, really sorry." I stopped, turned back just enough to look at her. "So am I said. And then I walked out of that house and didn't look back. Philip walked beside me, silent. At my car, I stopped. Philip stood there with his briefcase looking at me with concern. "Are you all right?" he asked. I thought about Warren, about the necklace I'd get back but would never wear the same way, about the daughter I'd raised who'd looked at me with pleading eyes one last time, about how I'd spent 35 years being someone's wife and 38 years being someone's mother, and how tonight I'd walked away from one of those identities forever. "Ask me next year," I said. "They say time heals all wounds. I don't know if I believe that, but I know time gives you distance. And distance gives you clarity." 2 months later, Philip brought the necklace back. He carried it in a protective box, the kind museums use for fragile things. When I opened it, when I held it in my hands for the first time since it was taken, I remembered Warren's hands clasping it around my neck, his voice quiet and certain. "My forever." I wore it that afternoon, the first time since he passed. I stood in front of the bathroom mirror, the same one where I'd practiced saying goodbye to my daughter, and I looked at myself, at the woman wearing her husband's last gift, at the woman who'd chosen to stand up even when it meant standing alone. "I'm still here," I said to my reflection. "I survived this." Philip gave me updates I hadn't asked for but needed to hear. Vanessa and Trevor had sold the house. They'd moved into a small rental apartment. They were making payments, $45,000 so far, $65,000 still owed. The police report had been filed. The charges were suspended conditional on full restitution. "They're struggling," Philip said carefully, "financially and in other ways." "Margaret," I asked. Philip nodded. "She found out about the necklace, about where the money came from. She returned everything she could, the bags, the jewelry that hadn't been worn. She told Trevor she wanted nothing to do with items purchased with stolen money. And the wedding, postponed indefinitely. I understood. Margaret had withdrawn her approval, the very thing Vanessa had stolen from me to obtain. Ruth came by later that week. She brought cookies and sat with me in the living room. We didn't talk about any of it at first. We just sat. Then gently, "Has Vanessa tried to call you?" I blocked her number. Ruth nodded, didn't judge, just nodded. "Will you ever—" she started, then stopped. "I don't know," I said, and it was the truth. "Maybe, someday, when I'm ready, if I can be ready." Some nights I walk through my house and I think about Vanessa as a child, not the woman who stole from me, but the little girl who brought me dandelions. And it hurts. Not the same way it did 2 months ago, but it still hurts. Other nights I sit in Warren's chair wearing his necklace and I ask him if I did the right thing. I don't hear his voice, but I feel something, a stillness, an approval. A reminder that love doesn't mean letting someone hurt you, that protecting yourself isn't the same as being cruel, that I didn't fail her. She failed me. Tonight I'm sitting here, necklace on Warren's photo on the table beside me, and I realize I'm smiling. Not a big smile, just a small, quiet one that means I'm okay. Right now, in this moment, I'm okay. People ask if I'll forgive her. I say maybe, someday. They ask if I regret it. I say no. Vanessa will have to live with what she did, with the knowledge that she traded her father's memory for approval from a woman who in the end wanted nothing to do with stolen money, that she lost both mothers in the process, and I'll have to live with what I did in response. Someone once told me that family means forgiving the unforgivable, but Warren used to say family means not asking someone to. I'm choosing to believe Warren, and I'm choosing me. Maybe someday I'll answer when Vanessa calls, or maybe I won't. Maybe I'll carry this boundary for the rest of my life. Either way, it will be my choice, and that, in the end, is enough. Looking back, I see now how easily I mistook enabling for love. For years, I told myself that protecting Vanessa from consequences was what good mothers do. But God showed me through the pain of that empty velvet box that true love sometimes means letting someone face what they've done. If you're reading this and thinking about your own family drama stories, hear me. Don't wait as long as I did. Don't ignore the small betrayals that grow into big ones. These family drama stories aren't just entertainment, they're warnings. God gives us boundaries not to punish others, but to protect ourselves. Warren understood that. I wish I'd listened sooner. The grandma stories you hear online, the ones where family takes advantage, where trust is shattered, those grandma stories are more common than you think. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. When your peace costs you your sanity, it's too expensive. And when forgiveness is demanded instead of earned, remember, God doesn't ask you to set yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. I chose myself. I chose the wisdom my husband left me. And in that choice, I found something I'd lost years ago, my voice. To everyone navigating their own family drama stories, especially those sharing grandma stories where trust was broken, these are the family drama stories that teach us the hardest lessons. You're not cruel for setting boundaries. You're not unforgiving for protecting your heart. You're human. And that with God's grace is enough. Final note. This content contains dramatized storytelling elements for educational purposes. Any resemblance to real names or contexts is purely coincidental, but the message is entirely helpful. If this style doesn't resonate with you, that's okay. Please seek content that better fits your needs.